Hi, I'm Nafisa Latic, and this is Across the Balkans. This week, we look at the direct impact the conflict in Ukraine has had on a once thriving tourism industry in the Balkans. As summer temperatures hit the region, tourists are flocking to popular hotspots on the Adriatic coast. But even 2 years after the COVID-19 pandemic first broke out, some countries are still struggling to get back on track. And the conflict in neighboring Ukraine is dashing renewed hopes of a quick recovery. One of the countries strongly backing the EU sanctions against Russia is Montenegro, which used to be a popular destination for Russian and Ukrainian tourists. Now, travel agents say bookings from the two countries are being cancelled. Neighboring Croatia is also fearing the possible ripple effects of EU sanctions on Russia. Although the country is seeing almost double the amount of tourists they saw at the same period last year, Croatia now faces a new problem: a lack of seasonal workers. Veljko Skenderija went to the Croatian coastal town of Sibenik to see how they are feeling the shortfall.
This is what Croatia has been waiting for all year. The tourist season has begun, and so has the flow of funds into the state budget. And it's anything but negligible. Tourism amounts for a fifth of Croatia's GDP, which is the highest percentage in the EU. Before the pandemic, in 2019, it stood at a record of almost $12 billion.
Prošle godine skoro pa i nismo imali predsezonu. Što se tiče usporedbe sa 2019. tu smo na nekih 88%, što je vrlo blizu našeg cilja od 90% turističkog prometa ove godine, ali pred nama su još glavni mjeseci i lipanj koji će biti dobro popunjen prema sadašnjim najavama, kamoli glavna turistička sezona gdje će se tražiti krevet više.
With almost twice as many tourists in the pre-season than last year, hospitality workers are rubbing their hands. While the pandemic may have taken a financial toll, guests from all over the world are now back, eager for a holiday and new experiences. And perhaps, most importantly, they are enthusiastic about Croatia.
I guess we're a little before the season, but it's still nice and warm, so it's been everything we expected to be. It's nice.
It's a very pretty country. People have been very nice. We've enjoyed it.
The views, the water, it's absolutely stunning.
It's very charming. I've been to many cities and many countries, and Croatia is different in a good way.
True to its former slogan, Croatia still presents a slice of the Mediterranean as it once was. But its tourism sector has developed strongly in recent years, realizing that it cannot compete by offering the sea and the sun alone.
Mi koji živimo u Hrvatskoj i koji radimo u turizmu možda to i ne vidimo, jer to su procesi koji su relativno spori. Ja bih volio da su oni i brži, međutim siguran sam da netko tko nije bio u Hrvatskoj u zadnjih 10 ili 15 godina, pa je sad došao 2022. godine, bi sasvim sigurno vidio da se kvaliteta tog turističkog proizvoda značajno popravila.
Hrvatska danas u odnosu na Hrvatsku prije 10-15 godina u turističkom smislu, u smislu turističke ponude, pa i puno šire je zaista velika razlika. Dakle, mi smo danas jedna od vodećih svjetskih turističkih destinacija.
And this is evident in the latest research by one of the leading tourist consulting companies, Bloom, which ranked Croatia 16th in terms of competitiveness of its tourist brand. So the country has now gone global, but things are still far from perfect.
Will this year's tourist season be able to come close or top the record numbers set in 2019? Probably not. But will it surpass the last year's numbers? That seems definite. However, despite the optimism, Croatia's tourism sector faces significant challenges. Some problems are external, but there are also internal structural problems that could impact the lifeblood of Croatia's economy. First and foremost, the lack of workers.
Estimates say that 30 to 35,000 seasonal workers are needed, which is why some facilities could remain closed. And it's not just domestic workers. Employers cannot even find staff from ex-Yugoslav countries where there are no language barriers, so they've reached out for workers from countries far and wide. Nepal, Bangladesh, and the Philippines, to name just a few. We decided to check the situation on the Croatian coast ourselves and headed to Sibenik, a tourist gem that is the only place in Croatia and possibly the smallest town in the world with two UNESCO protected monuments, St. Nicholas Fortress and Sibenik's Cathedral.
Hello, King Krashimir Hotel, how can I help you?
Halo, dobar dan, rezervirao bi sobu za danas. Imate što slobodno?
Sorry sir, I cannot understand Croatian. Can we speak English, sir?
Ne govorite hrvatski?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do you have any available rooms for tonight? I would like to book one.
Yes, sir, we have the best room for 300 euros.
Kala is one of a growing number of Filipinos who come to Croatia for both seasonal and year-round work. She said she is happy with the working conditions, and this is her second year at the King Krešimir Hotel in Sibenik. Kala's employer Ivana tells us they've been hiring workers from the Philippines in their 3 boutique hotels for years. Waiters, receptionists, chefs. She says finding European staff in Croatia is almost impossible.
Prije 10 godina kad bismo raspisali natječaj dobivali po 200 molbi za pojedina radna mjesta. Ulaskom u Europsku uniju se nažalost broj životopisa koje bismo dobili za pojedino radno mjesto smanjivao na nekoliko desetaka. Došli smo, a nakon par godina smo došli u situaciju da raspišemo natječaj i ne dobijemo ni jedan životopis za određeno radno mjesto.
And as he walks us past the heritage-listed Sibenik Cathedral, the head of the town's tourist board says there lies the answer to where Croatian workers are.
Naši nekadašnji Slavonci su otišli u zemlje bolje plaćene ulaskom u Uniju, tipa Skandinavije, Njemačke, Irske, koji su nekad punili Dalmaciju kroz te poslove i sad smo mi prisiljeni, su poslodavci prisiljeni uvoziti ljude iz tih drugih zemalja.
Due to a dwindling workforce, Croatia is at least becoming a little more multicultural. But tourism is Croatia's most vital industry, and the state is now looking to dodge this problem by shifting to a more sustainable tourism model with fewer visitors but greater profit.
Moje mišljenje je da hrvatski turizam treba tražiti svoju budućnost ne u takozvanoj ekonomiji razmjera, dakle u masovnom turizmu gdje imate jako puno noćenja i po svakom noćenju zarađujete relativno malo, nego da hrvatski turizam svoju budućnost treba tražiti zapravo u turističkom proizvodu visoke ili više dodane vrijednosti. Dakle, po mom mišljenju da budem, ovako da se metaforički izrazim, bolje prodati 100 noćenja po 100 eura nego 1000 noćenja po 10 eura.
But in making this move, Croatia faces a number of hurdles. Despite the money spent over the past decade, the sector still needs a major overhaul as nearly 60% of its accommodation are low-quality rental apartments hastily built for a quick summer profits. And in the short term, a lack of seasonal labor may yet prove a bigger problem that it can handle. Veljko Skenderija, TRT World, Zagreb and Šibenik, Croatia.
Let's cross to Podgorica now to see how Montenegro is coping with the challenges facing this year's tourism season. Anisa Muric is an advisor to the director of the National Tourism Organization of Montenegro. Anisa, great to have you with us. How's the outlook for this upcoming season, considering the bookings so far?
Well, the information we get from the tourist industry and local tourism organizations are really encouraging regarding this summer season. In the pre-season period, we recorded multiple growth in the number of tourists compared to the same period in the previous year. And it seems that this trend will continue according to the tourism industry. Regarding the markets, we expect a significant number of guests from the Western, Central, and Northern Europe. Booking from Great Britain, Baltic countries, Scandinavia is on satisfactory level. Bearing in mind that majority of Montenegrin tourists are foreign, we expect arrivals from those countries that Montenegro has air connection with, and at this moment, both airports in Montenegro, Podgorica and Tivat, note significant number of passengers and connections with almost 30 nations.
But Montenegro can't count on bookings from Russia this year. I mean, back in 2019, Russians made 30% of tourists. So who will fill this gap?
Traditionally, we expect a great number of tourists from the Balkan region. Tourists from Serbia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Albania, and Kosovo are our traditional guests. According to the data we received from local tourism organization in the previous week, it was recorded twice as many visits comparing to the same period in 2021, which is also above the level achieved in 2019.
But Anissa, tourists from the region, they are known to spend less, significantly less than Russian and Chinese tourists who traditionally travel on a high budget. Can you reach the same numbers when it comes to revenues? Even if you have a record number of visitors, actual revenues might not be the same like before.
Yes, in Montenegro, the Russian and Ukrainian market have a significant share. That means 50% of total tourism arrivals are from these two markets. We learned in the COVID-19 pandemics to be more flexible, and we are doing more promotional activities for broader markets. So we expect tourists from different destinations such as Israel, Kazakhstan, Luxembourg, Scandinavian countries. So we look forward to this season, and hopefully we will manage to reply of this challenge in this summer season.
You can't count on tourists from China either, right? As they still have to deal with COVID restrictions. So how did you who exactly you targeted, which countries this year? And what about the COVID restrictions? That's all lifted at this point in Montenegro.
Yes, as you mentioned, the Chinese market is still, let's say, practically closed. And our promotional activities on the markets abroad we are doing them jointly with the countries in the region, because Chinese tourists love to come and visit several countries. Since that is not possible right now, we are making some promotional offer and activities on the broader markets, and that is Central, Northern Europe. Also, we have direct flights, as I said, from Israel, Kazakhstan. So we expect those tourists to be present in Montenegro this summer.
In a story just before you came up on air, in our story from Croatia, the managing director of the Croatian Tourism Institute said it's better to sell 100 nights for 100 euros than 1,000 nights for 10 euros. What do you make of this approach? Could this be a solution that Montenegro takes also in the future?
Yes, there is a truth in that statement, of course. But since the pandemic of COVID-19 for the last 2 years, we learned in tourism that we need to be more flexible, more adjustable. So this is also post-pandemic year, and we hope that we will be able to compensate the loss from the markets that are not, they don't have the possibility to travel to Montenegro this year, but we will expect them to see them next year maybe, and hopefully This optimism is based on the researches of several institutions such as European Travel Commission, UNVTO, and they show that 3 out of 4 Europeans intend to travel in the next 6 months. And the most attractive are the Mediterranean destinations. So despite the happenings and the war in Ukraine and the pandemic, interest in traveling is increased throughout Europe. So we expect to have good results this year as well.
Right. Is Montenegro experiencing a similar labor shortfall as we've seen in Croatia? Croatia is struggling to have enough workers for the upcoming season. Is that an issue in Montenegro?
That is a similar thing I see with similar tourist countries in this region, that yes, we have a problem with the labor market, and now tourism industry is trying to motivate workers, young workers, to work in the tourism industry, and hopefully in the cooperation with universities, both private and state, to motivate young people to start working in tourism, because working in tourism is a very nice job, and you can learn and see many different cultures, and so we have that challenge as well, but we hope to manage it somehow.
Right. With a new minority government in place and with all the changes that Montenegro is going through, are you optimistic that things can go back like they were in 2019?
I would have to say that we are optimistic that, and we are, let's say, we set the goal to achieve the same, maybe better results in 2019. But on the other side, bearing in mind that the war in Ukraine is still on, and we are carefully with the forecasts, and we will just do our best to welcome all the tourists in Montenegro this year and hope for the best.
Okay, and just shortly at the end, Anissa, what's your message to Turkish people maybe considering to visit Montenegro and people from the region? What's your message for this summer?
Well, I'm very happy to say that we have increasing in flights from Istanbul to Podgorica, and the news is that flights are increasing to Tivat as well. Our national air company, Air Montenegro, is operating from Tivat to Istanbul, and also a national air company from Turkey, Turkish Airlines, operates from Podgorica and Tivat. So we are well connected, and all I can say to Turkish citizens, hoş geldiniz.
Okay, Anissa, thank you so much for that, and good luck in the upcoming months. I know the temperatures are rising. I was in Budva actually last week, and I've already seen a lot of tourists coming, especially from Israel, which was really, really interesting for me to see. Thanks again. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
It's time to look at some other stories making headlines in the region this week. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov had to cancel a visit to Serbia after Balkan countries closed their airspace. North Macedonia, Bulgaria and Montenegro all refused to allow Lavrov's plane to use their airspace. Russia's foreign ministry criticized the move, saying it closed another channel of communication. The European Union has banned Russian aircraft from its airspace over its attack on Ukraine. While the European Union is trying to reduce energy imports from Russia by imposing more sanctions, Serbia has announced a 3-year gas supply deal with Moscow. Belgrade condemned Russia's attack on Ukraine, but it has refused to take part in sanctions against its old ally, and the country still holds aspirations to join the EU. The European Commission has launched an energy purchase platform in order to phase out dependency on Russian gas. Western Balkan countries will be able to join the platform for joint purchases of gas, the European Council said. Moldova, Ukraine, Georgia and other non-EU countries will be allowed to join the program too. Croatian Prime Minister Andrej Plenković has announced the country's decision to expand their existing floating LNG terminal on Kirk Island. He said an investment plan is being finalized to increase the terminal's capacity. Once completed, the terminal can be used by more countries, including Slovenia, Hungary, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and others in Central Europe. And Australia's first Muslim cabinet minister has been sworn into office. Ed Husic, the son of a Bosnian Muslim immigrant, will serve as the country's Minister for Industry and Science. Husic said his cabinet appointment sends a signal to the broader community that people from different backgrounds and different faiths can have a role to play in building a better country. Lying in southeastern Europe, the Balkan Peninsula has an abundance of stunning coastlines, landmarks, and a rich history. All make the region a popular tourist destination. There's a long list of famous sites you can visit in the Balkans, but there are also many hidden gems worth seeing. Let's take a closer look at the region's lesser-known beauty spots.
It's no secret that the Balkans is packed with unique places to visit, like the Acropolis, a stunning monument of Greek history, or the Mostar Bridge, a symbol of friendship and peace in the face of a dark past. A little further south is Croatia's Dubrovnik, which recently became the set of the fictional Game of Thrones city King's Landing, and many fans have since flocked to the Six Kingdoms capital. Also an inspiration for countless movies and shows is Romania's Transylvania. Bram Stoker may have written Dracula 125 years ago, but over at Bran Castle, the story of vampires is still very much alive. But the Balkans also has famed sites that haven't graced TV screens or fantasy novels. Here are 5 hidden gems that many will want to add to their bucket list. Croatia's Plitvice Lakes National Park is one of the country's largest and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's a blend of waterfalls and 16 interconnecting lakes which change colour depending on lighting and mineral content. The area can be explored by foot, but due to its sheer size, train and ferry rides are also available. Before the pandemic, the park received about 1.7 million visitors a year. Those numbers have been down recently, but Plitvice is now primed to return to its former glory. Sitting outside stone walls, Budva is surrounded by a 35-kilometre Riviera. And this little Montenegrin town is full of opportunities for a summer vacation. The old city has an array of cafes and restaurants keeping with its historical atmosphere. For many, the symbol of Budva is this sculpture of a frozen ballet dancer. A few kilometres away is the Sveti Stefan summer resort. In the past, the island was a haven for Adriatic pirates, but today, it's a touristic paradise. The Greek island of Folegandros is just a ferry ride away from the more famous Santorini, but it has a very different vibe. With its white houses and colourful doors, it offers typical examples of Cycladic architecture, and with a distinctive climate, warm days enveloped by a pleasant evening breeze. 3 villages, a relaxing atmosphere, quiet beaches and fewer tourists. A fitting choice for people who prefer a peaceful vacation. For those fond of nature, the Bosnian village of Blagaj could well become a favourite. It sits on the banks of the Buna River and is also known for its mild weather. Alongside its breathtaking nature and landscape, the place is also home to the Blagaj Teka, built in 1520 as a Sufi lodge, a beautiful spot to get away from the crowds. And for those looking for an unusual experience, Bulgaria could be the right address. The Monument House of the Bulgarian Communist Party, better known as Buzludza Monument, is one of the best-known legacies of the country's Cold War past. And the so-called Bulgarian UFO would not go amiss in a science fiction movie. The 70-metre high tower is marked with a massive red star. Next to it is a round ceremonial hall with another familiar symbol placed inside its dome, a hammer and sickle. Once hosting official events and parties, the building was closed in 1989. But for many, and especially the lovers of nostalgia, it's still very much worth a visit.
Let's keep our fingers crossed that the region's tourism industry bounces back. And if you're still thinking of somewhere to go this summer, consider one of those places. Thanks for watching this episode of Across the Balkans. See you next time. Bye-bye for now.